What's up? It's the Coaster Craze, and it's January 2020, and that marks the end of a really just exciting decade in terms of roller coasters. The 2010s created most of the best roller coasters in the world at this point. It was a huge, innovative decade. We saw a new, amazing manufacturer with Rocky Mountain Construction, RMC. There were just so many new models created, so I thought it's the perfect time to recap my top 10 favorite new roller coasters of the decade. Of course, I haven't written all these, and these are like various POVs and like just looking at experiences I've seen online and reading about them and look at the layout and statistics, but I compiled a list. And before we get into the top 10 proper, I'm going to start with some honorable mentions. So right off the bat, we got Wood Coaster at Night Valley in China, which I really do think is the best GCI in the world. This coaster is insane. I mean, it starts the ride out with so much terrain usage and like has three main drops, keeps on picking up speed. There's like sideways airtime hills, there's a tunnel, there's two station flybys. This coaster is insane. It just never lets up and delivers a great long ride. Really amazing coaster. Carnan is just insane with those indoor surprises, this massive straight down drop that goes from indoors to outdoors, these huge elements. It gets low to the ground with some crazy intensity, powerful airtime, even in inversion. It packs in a ton. It's the Gerstlauer coaster, and it is definitely one of the best coasters in the world. I mean, I've heard it is a bit rough, but overall, this is one of the craziest coasters on the planet, insanely unique, and totally deserves an honorable mention on this list. Right from that lightning fast cable lift till Skyrush is going to be an insane ride, and I can say this is the craziest, most intense coaster I've ever ridden. It's a good amount shorter than the other coasters on this list, but it packs in so much with these crazy wave turns, the most powerful ejector airtime. Yes, the restraints are awful, and it really does hurt your thighs, but it's butter smooth, and it's such an insane rush that I can't help but put it on this list. Storm Chaser at Kentucky Kingdom is perhaps the sleeper hit of the decade. It looked like a mediocre RMC, and then it came out with that barrel roll drop, and it was just insane. The trick track double up, all these crazy elements, has powerful airtime, it flies through the course, it's very compact and small, tiny elements. It really is a great coaster, and it's probably one of RMC's finest creations. It just shows that sheer stats doesn't mean too much when you have a phenomenal layout and just really some phenomenal forces. DC Rivals Hypercoaster that came to Warner Bros. Movie World in Australia is absolutely insane. As a Mack Hypercoaster, it is very different than the other variants. It has a lot of great big airtime hills, in addition to some like weird elements that you don't see on Hypers usually, like a non-inverting loop seen here, and some cool like S-curves and twist sections. Overall, it's a really cool ride, plus the back cars are like face backwards, which is so cool. Probably the best coaster in Australia, and one of the best hypercoasters in the world, for sure. Twisted Classes is one of the few coasters I've ridden on this list, and boy is it a great one. It was my first RMC. I just love the long ride experience with the two lift hills, some phenomenal drops, the airtime is so powerful, and the inversions are excellent. My favorite inversion of all time is actually the Top Gun stall on the green side. Really phenomenal. The blue camelback is insane. The high five element is great, and I rode all this without even dueling. The dueling aspect I've heard makes it just a million times better. It just shows how great of a coaster this one is. Coaster Through the Clouds has got to be talked about more. This is easily a top 5 hyper in the world, and it is just an amazing intimate creation. I mean, the airtime hills are insane. It's absolutely massive. Such a long ride time and track length. The speed is just insane. All the twists and turns about it, just everything. It packs in so much in the ride, and it really just shows how great of a decade it is that this didn't even make the top 10. Wicked Cyclone is my number 2 coaster of all time, and boy, does it pack in a punch. It is such a small, compact RMC, and it just keeps on going 3 times throughout its layout, just keeps on going under itself with insane banks, insane ejector airtime, and some 3 amazing inversions. The 0G stall is one of the best inversions I've ever been on. This coaster is just so powerful, especially in the back row. It whips you through the layout. Just an intense, phenomenal coaster, and such a rush, plus a long ride. Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion is just an insane RMC in terms of the sheer amount of airtime. They actually extended the layout of Hurler and added in so many small airtime hills. Plus, this coaster has 3 inversions, including an awesome barrel roll drop. The most famous part of this coaster, of course, are these 3 massive camelbacks that happen right about here. And boy, do they give some insane ejector. I've talked to a lot of people I've ridden this, and it is a powerful ride. And it really just shows how great RMC is, that they could turn a mediocre wooden coaster hurler into something this masterful. Taran was the last and hardest cut I had to make for my top 10 list because it is such a legendary ride, so long, powerful launches, and Phantasialand's theming is just remarkable. I mean, look at this. This is the best theme coaster on this list by far. It weaves in and out of these structures and the waterfalls and stuff, and that's what makes it such a brilliant ride, plus powerful airtime moments. And just these S-curves, it really is Intamin's twistiness at its best, and it hurt taking it off, but these top 10 coasters are just a bit better, so let's get right into that top 10. And starting out the top 10, I have a short but sweet coaster, RMC Hybrid Iron Rattler. This is just a phenomenal ride that packs in a punch in its relatively short ride time. I mean, I love the use of the quarry wall at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. It really is excellent. That first drop is powerful. How it goes up on the hills and there's small bunny hops and inversions on top of the quarry wall. And then, of course, the icing on top is that drop off the wall into that final helix that goes through the tunnel of the wall and then hits the brake run. It packs in a lot in its ride, and it's one of RMC's finest creations. Hyperion at Energyland is coming in at number 9. It was the coaster that showed the coaster world that Energylandia is a force to be reckoned with, and boy, is this Intimate Hyper one of the best around. I mean, just every element is there for a reason, and it's perfect. It's not an insanely long ride, and Coaster Through the Clouds is a longer hyper, but this is such a variety of elements. The S-curves, the wave turns, the massive airtime hills, also just huge. It's like 270 feet tall. The splashdown at the end, it has that almost like dive loop style turnaround. It just delivers such a great ride and such a variety of elements in not too long of a time, and it just shows how far Intamin's come. Kucha is the beast of an RMC and is the best coaster in Japan, in my opinion. It delivers a very long ride time and is just absolutely massive with a ton of elements. I mean, the track length is super impressive, the inversions are remarkable, the airtime is great, and best of all, the pacing is excellent. For such a long ride, it keeps its speed up for the entire time. I think that's really, really impressive. It keeps on weaving in and out of the structure. The double down right there is fantastic. Every element is just so potent in terms of the airtime, the inversions, the hang time. It just really is a great variety of elements, and it's kind of like lots of the best elements on an RMC coaster all put together. Untamed kind of came out of nowhere because when it was first announced, I thought it was just going to be your average RMC hybrid. Still a great ride, but not this masterpiece. I mean, the length is amazing. It has the most inversions on any RMC coaster with 5. That first inversion right there, that double inversion is absolutely insane. It's not on any other RMC. The airtime is great. The way it goes down to the woods is awesome. The Station Q theming is great. Every inversion is different and kind of like has a great different feel to it, which I think is really great because sometimes RMC coasters run into just having the same inversion 3 times on the ride, but this one really does offer a great variety of elements. Plus, there's just a ton of great pacing and keeping its speed throughout the ride, so end up as being one of the best RMCs and one of the best coasters in the world. Though it's been plagued with issues in terms of getting it open, keeping it operating, and keeping it at full speed, plus there has been some rough spots reported, Lightning Rod is still an insane coaster. It's the only launch one coaster in the world, and boy is it just a brilliant creation. Sure, it's not the longest ride, but it does pack in a ton, and its use of the terrain is downright brilliant. It is so fast, it's just so powerful in terms of the massive banks, the wave turns, and of course, I can't talk about Lightning Rod without discussing that quadruple down. Going down that mountain is just some of the most crazy airtime I've heard ever experienced on a roller coaster. And yeah, this coaster is definitely a wild ride. Maybe it's a little too rough at this point, but just the sheer intensity and speed of it is very unmatched by many other coasters. Intimidator 305 is the last coaster on this list that I've ridden, and it's actually my favorite coaster of all time. I haven't ridden in 40 years, but boy, were those rides just fantastic. I mean, that first drop, especially in the back row, is insane. You really gray out during that first turnaround. Coming up in that massive floater hill is just such an intense moment on a coaster. And then, of course, the best part are those rapid just turns and going back and forth. The intimate twisties, as lots of enthusiasts call them, are just so crazy with the laterals. You really get thrown out of your seat. Plus, there's like a great ejector hill. and it just keeps its speed low to the ground so well, which is something so few coasters that go like 90 plus miles per hour do. So it just makes it a unique and super intense fun ride. Zadra is just massive. I mean, this is one of the biggest RMC creations, and the stats are just so impressive. It's such a long ride track lane, yet the duration isn't even that long because it keeps the speed so fast throughout the ride, cramming in so many elements, and also it's pretty much head chopper heaven. This rivals El Toro for just the sheer amount of head choppers that it has as it goes under the structure, including that main drop going right under it. That's an ambitious move to start your ride. It's pretty crazy, this coaster, and it's so compact too, which adds to that like really intense head chopper feeling. Just keeps on weaving in and out of its structure, which is really impressive for such a large scale coaster. Really shows RMC's dominance this decade. There's not much more to say about Fury 325, but it is the pinnacle B&M coaster. It's got that massive floater airtime and just large scale, huge track length, takes up a huge footprint that we just love with those massive B&M hypers and gigas, but it combines that with some great low to the ground intensity, using lots of the first half of the ride for these awesome twist sections, including that legendary treble clef turn around, which is just such a cool element that kind of goes into this wave turn and subterranean dive. Then it parallels that with, at the end of the ride, all those hills that give a mix of floater and ejector airtime. Just offers a long ride, a lot of variety, and has some of the best coaster stats around. When I first saw that Wildfire debut POV, I was just shocked that all the attention was going to Lightning Rod. Yeah, it launches, but this coaster is insane, and I was sure this would be the best coaster in the world for a while. Obviously, that didn't happen because this is only number 2 on the list of the best of 2010s, but this coaster is just insane. As a wooden coaster, it just accomplishes so much, uses the terrain, has a freaking tunnel as seen there with the fog and stuff. It has just a massive drop. The stats are really impressive. Great ride length. The inversions are spectacular. The airtime is excellent. And it just keeps on going. How it interacts with the rockwork and stuff. It's such a cinematic ride. Plus, it's right along like the ocean that surrounds like Sweden. So you get this just picturesque view at the top of the mountain. It really is incredible. And it's crazy to think also that's at a zoo of all places. So, of course, that leads to my number 1. I wanted a big build-up, but it's no surprise. It's freaking Steel Vengeance. Everyone calls this the best coaster in the world. When it first was announced by Cedar Point, their RMC Mean Streak, they unveiled the layout, how massive it is, the stats, the layout, everything about it. People were like, oh my gosh, this is the best coaster in the world already. And then everyone, when they actually wrote it and opened, it still exceeded expectations, which was just absolutely insane for a coaster to exceed such high expectations. It's almost gotten universal praise as the best coaster in the world, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Sure, it's not the most original ride, but it combined all the best elements of all the RMCs I've previously talked about and just made one longer behemoth of an RMC. And I'm ecstatic to say I'll actually be riding it this year. So yeah, that's a little bit of a spoiler for my 2020 plans video, which will be coming out soon. But I'm just can't wait. This ride packs in a punch. It's so long. I mean, almost a minute and a half of ride time. That's excluding the lift hill. It has so much airtime moments. The most airtime on any coaster. 4 great inversions. Just such a great drop. It is insane. 2010s were an insane decade for coasters, with Steel Vengeance at the top of them all. I can't wait to see where the coaster world goes in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching this ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe and like the Coaster Craze. Tons more coaster content coming soon. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.